Weight.obj. 174M entered service in 1985 as the T-72B.14. At least some technical documentation on the T-72 is known to have been passed to the CIA by the Polish Colonel Ryszard Kuklinski between 1971 and 1982. Production history. 2 T-72B tanks at the Chebarkul Training Ground, Russia, April 2017. The first series production of T-72 Object 172M began in July at UKBM in Nizhny Tagil. However, due to difficulties in getting the factory organized for the change in production from T-64 to T-72, only 30 completed tanks were delivered in 1973. Troubles continued in 1974, where out of a state production quota of 440 only 220 were officially declared, with the actual number of completed tanks being close to 150. As a result, substantial investment in tooling was undertaken. Only after modernization could the factory begin full-scale production of the T-72. Nizhny Tagil produced the tank in various modifications until 1992. The T-72 was the most common tank used by the Warsaw Pact from the 1970s until the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. It was also exported to other countries, such as Finland, India, Iran, Iraq, Syria and Yugoslavia, as well as being copied elsewhere, both with and without licenses. Check T-72M4CZ firing. Licensed versions of the T-72 were made in Poland and Czechoslovakia, for Warsaw Pact consumers. These tanks have better and more consistent quality of make, but with inferior armor, lacking the resin-embedded ceramics layer inside the turret front and glacis plate armor, replaced with all steel. The Polish-made T-72G tanks also had thinner armor compared to Soviet Army standard, 410 mm for turret. Before 1990, Soviet-made T-72 export versions were similarly downgraded for non-Warsaw Pact customers, mostly the Arab countries. Many parts and tools are not interchangeable between the Soviet, Polish and Czechoslovakian versions, which caused logistics problems. Yugoslavia developed the Polish and Czechoslovakian versions, which caused logistics problems. Original version, armed with 125 mm smoothbore tank gun and optical coincidence rangefinder.
Yes, sir. I'm starting to get sleepy, so we have to read from the top. But I will go and get some more tips. I will go to my kitchen, but I'll make a short video about it in Danish, my language. Yes, god eftermiddag. Jeg ligger og hygger mig og læser om det her russiske T-72 tanks. Jeg vil gå tage mig nogle flere tips. Kameraet kører ind i stuen også. Yes, we kan godt tage resten af poser med ind også. Så kan vi lige se jeg vil læse videre her. Kameraet kører her på engelsk. Yes, sorry, just made a video in my language Danish, getting some more tips, and I took the back and I start to get sleepy. So when I click the mouse by mistake, the auto reading stops. But let's start from there again. Let's read from the top this page.
Customers, mostly the Arab countries. Many parts and tools are not interchangeable between the Soviet Polish and Czechoslovakian versions, which caused logistics problems. Yugoslavia developed the T-72 into the more advanced M84, and sold hundreds of them around the world during the 1980s. The Iraqis called their T-72 copies the Lion of Babylon, Asad Babil. These Iraqi tanks were assembled from kits sold to them by the Soviet Union as a means of evading the UN-imposed weapons embargo. More modern derivatives include the Polish PT-91 Several countries, including Russia and Ukraine, also offer modernization packages for older T-72s. Various versions of the T-72 have been in production for decades, and the specifications for its armor have changed considerably. Original T-72 tanks had homogeneous cast steel armor incorporating spaced armor technology and were moderately well protected by the standards of the early 1970s. In 1979, the Soviets began building T-72 modification with composite armor similar to the T-64 composite armor, in the front half the turret and the front of the hull. Late in the 1980s, T-72 tanks in Soviet inventory, and many of those also here in the world as well, were fitted with reactive armor tiles. TPDK-1 laser rangefinder system have appeared in T-72 tanks since 1974. Earlier examples were equipped with parallax optical rangefinders, which could not be used for distances under 1,000 meters, 1,100 yard. Some export versions of the T-72 lacked the laser rangefinder until 1985, or sometimes only the squadron and platoon commander tanks, version K, received them. After 1985, all newly made T-72s came with reactive armor as standard. The more powerful 840 bhp, 630 kilowatts, V-84 engine and an upgraded design main gun, which can fire guided anti-tank missiles from the barrel. With these developments, the T-72 eventually became almost as powerful as the more expensive T-80 tank. But few of these late variants reached the economically ailing Warsaw Pact allies and foreign customers before the Soviet bloc fell apart in 1990. Since 2000, export vehicles have been offered with thermal imaging night vision gear of French manufacture as well, though it may be more likely that they might simply use the locally manufactured Buran Catherine system, which incorporates a French thermal imager. Depleted uranium armor-piercing ammunition for the 125mm, 4.9-inch gun has been manufactured in Russia in the form of the BM-32 projectile since around 1978, though it has never been deployed, and is less penetrating than the later tungsten BM-42 and the newer BM-42M. In 2010, Russia started a upgrade using the enormous stocks of T-72Bs held in reserve. The rebuild tank Iskal T-72B3, Object 184M3.34, in 2018. The Third Central Research Institute in Moscow had tested a proof-of-concept demonstration for robotic tank mobility, and was planning to further develop it based on the T-72B3 and other platforms. 35. In 2022, according to intelligence sources, the upgrade of the Russian T-72 fleet has slowed during the war in Ukraine, while production of the more modern T-90S and T-14 Armatas has almost stopped because of international sanctions. affecting the Russian military industry. 36. However, more tanks of T-72 and T-90 types were ordered in August 2022. 37. A new batch of T-72B3M tanks was reportedly delivered in late 2022. 38. Models. Main models of the T-72, built in the Soviet Union and Russia. Command tanks have K added to their designation for Commandersky command. For example, T-72K is the command version of the basic T-72. Versions with reactive armor have V added. For Vzrivnoy, explosive. T-72 Ural, 1973, 39. Original version, armed with 125mm smoothbore tank gun and optical coincidence rangefinder. 40, 41, 42. The upgraded T-72, which appeared in 1979. This vehicle is the base's fourth most numerous export version. The T-72M and T-72M1. Polish T-72 at the Bovington Tank Museum. 72, 1979, 39. Coincidence rangefinder replaced with laser rangefinder and electronic fire control added. Turret front and top being heavily reinforced with composite armor, nicknamed Dolly Parton by U.S. intelligence. Provisions for mounting reactive armor, smoke grenade launchers, flipper armor mount on front mudguards. Internal changes. 7, 39, 41, 42. T-72M export version. Similar to T-72 but lacking composite armor, decreasing the weight to 37 tons, much simpler fire control system, and usually supplied with inferior ammunition compared to the Soviet Army standard. Also built in Poland and former Czechoslovakia. T-72B, 1985, new main gun, stabilizer, sights and fire control, 9K120 SV guided missile system, additional armor including 20mm, 0.8 in, of applique armor in the front half hull, improved composites in the turret armor, improved 840 HP, 630 kilowatts, engine. 39. T-72B3 model 2011, 2010. This upgrade was initiated in 2010 using the enormous stocks of T-72Bs held in reserve. They are rebuilt with new technologies including Sosna U multi-channel gunner's sight, new digital VHF radio, improved autoloader, a 46M2 gun to accommodate new ammunition, 9K119 reflex guided missile system, new V92S2 engine, Contact 5 explosive reactive armor, lacks satellite navigation. 34. T-72B3 model 2016 or T-72B3M upgrade for T-72B3, with relict explosive reactive armor on the sides, side skirts with soft container reactive armor and slat screens, a 46M5 gun with new ammunition, 9K119M reflex M guided missile system, V92S2F 1130 HP, 840 kilowatts, engine, automatic transmission, digital display and rear view video. 43, 44, 45, often incorrectly referred to as T-72B4. The T-72 design has been used into the following foreign models: T-72M4CZ, Czech Republic, PT-9120, Poland, M84, Yugoslavia, M84S1, Serbia, M84D, Croatia, and Lion of Babylon, Iraq. 34 variants. In addition, the T-72 hull has been used as the basis for other heavy vehicle designs, including the following: BMPT Terminator heavy convoy and close tank support vehicle, TOS-1 thermobaric multiple rocket launcher, with 30-tube launcher in place of the turret. 42. Brim 1, Bronirovania Rillen to evacuate Shania Machina, armored recovery vehicle with a 12-ton crane, 25-ton winch, dozer blade, towing equipment, and tools. 42. IMR2, Inženjerная Machina Razgrashtenija, combat engineering vehicle with an 11-ton telescoping crane and pincers, configurable dozer blade forward/plow, and mine clearing system. MTU-72, Tankowy Mostokladczyk, armored bridge layer, capable of laying a 50 t, 55 short tons, capacity bridge spanning 18 m, 59 feet, in 3 minutes. 42. BMR-3 Vepa, Bronirovania Machina Razminirovanaja, mine clearing vehicle. Design characteristics. T-72 monument in its production place, Nizhny Tagil. The T-72 shares many design features with other tank designs of Soviet origin. Some of these are viewed as deficiencies in a straight comparison to NATO tanks, but most are a product of the way these tanks were envisioned to be employed, based on the Soviets' practical experiences in World War II. Weight. The T-72 is extremely lightweight, at 41 tons, and very small compared to Western main battle tanks. Some of the road-songed bridges in former Warsaw Pact countries were designed so that T-72s can travel along in formation, but NATO tanks could not pass at all, or just one by one, significantly reducing their mobility. The basic T-72 is relatively underpowered, with a 780 HP, 580 kilowatts, supercharged version of the basic 500 HP, 370 kilowatts, V12 diesel engine originally designed for the World War II era T-34. The 0.58 m, 1 foot 11 in, wide tracks run on large diameter road wheels, which allows for easy identification of the T-72 and descendants. The T-64 family has relatively small road wheels. The T-72 is designed to cross rivers up to 5 m, 16.4 feet, deep submerged using a small diameter snorkel assembled on site. The crew is individually supplied with simple rebreather chest pack apparatuses for emergency situations. If the engine stops underwater, it must be restarted within 6 seconds, or the T-72's engine compartment becomes flooded due to pressure loss. The snorkeling procedure is considered dangerous, but is important for maintaining operational mobility. Nuclear, biological, and chemical protection. Memorial of T-72 with era. The tank was advancing on Azerbaijani positions in Ascaran when it hit a mine and its Armenian crew was killed in the resulting explosion. The tank was restored after the war. The T-72 has a nuclear, biological, and chemical, NBC, protection system. The inside of both hull and turret is lined with a synthetic fabric made of boron compound, meant to reduce the penetrating radiation from neutron bomb explosions. The crew is supplied clean air via an air filter system. A slight overpressure prevents entry of contamination via bearings and joints. Use of an autoloader for the main gun allows for more efficient forced smoke removal compared to traditional manually loaded, pig loader, tank guns, so NBC isolation of the fighting compartment can, in theory, be maintained indefinitely. Interior. T-72 crew, 1 driver, 2 commander, 3 gunner, 4 auto-loading system. Like all Soviet legacy tanks, the T-72's design has traded of interior space in return for a very small silhouette and efficient use of armor, to the point of replacing the 4th crewman with a mechanical loader. The low height of the tank places constraints on the height of crews, with the USSR having a height limit of 5 feet 4 in for crews for the T-72. 46. The basic T-72 design has extremely small periscope viewports, even by the constrained standards of battle tanks, and the driver's field of vision is significantly reduced when his hatch is closed. The steering system is a traditional dual-tiller layout instead of the easier-to-use steering wheel or steering geobe common in modern Western tanks. This setup requires the near-constant use of both